You know, I told myself that I wouldn't watch any more new Scooby-Doo movies for a myriad of reasons. The main one being how bad and sometimes downright offensive the last two movies I watched were. Go check out those videos if you haven't seen them. I'm decently funny, so you might get a kick out of them. But on a whim, I wanted to watch a Scooby-Doo movie for Halloween and conveniently saw that there was a new Scooby-Doo movie. At first, I was going to skip it like I did with Scoob. How dare you not cast Matthew Lillard? But I saw that Maxwell Atoms was directing and writing it, so of course I had to check it out. And if you don't know, Maxwell Atoms created Billy and Mandy as well as Evil Con Carne. Now, on to the real question. How does Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo stack up to 13 Ghosts and Return to Zombieland? Well, it's a lot better than those movies. In fact, it kind of makes those movies a little more enjoyable in hindsight. Well, not really, they're just more palatable. But I'll get to that later. For now, it's time to talk about the movie. Oh, and before I start, there are going to be spoilers throughout, so if you want to watch the movie and come back, I'd recommend it. Like I said, it's a good movie. I think a big part of this movie that made it more enjoyable for me was the humor. I don't really recall any moments from the previous movies that made me laugh, and Maxwell Atoms really did a great job here. It did make this one the silliest of the three, and there were some moments that missed hard.
Now step on it, Elvira. I'm trying.
But overall, this was a pretty funny movie. Maxwell Atoms is really good at comedic timing, and it shines here. Decent jokes are elevated just because of how they're delivered. It's quick and snappy, so even if there's a bad joke, it doesn't stick around for long, except for the references, and there are a lot of them. It really made me want to go back and watch some Billy and Mandy, which I did, but that's not important. Anyway, the humor shines almost immediately with a fantastic intro. The gang are at an Elvira festival looking for the Scarecrow because he's threatening to ruin the festival, which ends up happening after Fred completely bones it. I should also just let you know that this is the Scarecrow, like part of the Batman's Rogue Gallery, which means that Batman and by extension the DC Universe shares a world with Scooby-Doo. Now where's the Batman who laughs? Hold that thought though, because it ties into my biggest problem with the movie, so we'll come back to it. While Scarecrow's attacking the festival, we get to see it through this cool scene where it's from inside the mystery van since Scooby and Shaggy are in there doing their best to pretend that whatever's happening out there isn't happening. It swings around the van as multiple things are going on and we get to see all the characters doing their thing. It also effectively shows off their personalities, which I'm sure everyone knows at this point. I will point out though that some things are slightly different from the other movies. Daphne is way more zany, saying and doing whatever comes to mind.
Nothing but net.
She reminds me a lot of Francine from American Dad. I can't explain it, but if you know what I'm talking about, you might get it. Meanwhile, Velma is basically the main character. Here, she does the most work, and throughout the movie it seems to center on her the most. And I hate to say it, but for like 2/3 of the movie, she's the skeptic that we all know and hate. Anyway, they beat the Scarecrow by hacking the drones from an app that Velma made to counteract the toxins, and that's pretty tame compared to some of the signs we'll see later. As Scarecrow is getting arrested, he drops a hint that he isn't the villain behind all this madness, which does beg the question of why he even attacked in the first place. Like, he says he's crazy, and I mean, they were gonna find him anyway, so I guess they just said, why not? By the way, before Scarecrow straight up said that both parties were being played by someone else, I really like how he hinted at it.
It doesn't leak.
I would have preferred if they left it there because it would have helped make the gang, well, Velma, seem smarter. It was a nice piece of smart writing that got backtracked really quickly because I'm sure it might have flown over some people's heads, especially since this movie is for kids. And there was also the part where he landed on the red herring truck, which serves as a nice reference to a pup named Scooby-Doo, and as an actual red herring. So now everyone's chilling, having a good time and all that, and mostly Shaggy and Scooby who go trick-or-treating in their fucking awful costumes. I get it, it was extremely last minute and they just wanted some candy, but there had to be a better costume idea in the mystery van. Anything is better than slapping some chewed up candy on yourself. Jesus. So Scooby and Shaggy go trick-or-treating and have this weird dance scene straight out of Billy and Mandy, and they end up at a pumpkin patch that doubles as a drone graveyard. One that is being lightly misted with the finest toxic waste. So fine that it mixes with the fear gas hooked up to the drones and turns the pumpkins into monsters. This is another scene that I appreciated in hindsight. Seeing the ruined drones fizzing as it pans to the pumpkins that eventually turns gives a little hint to how the end will play out. It's not obvious, and I don't expect anyone to guess the mystery just from this part, but it was still cool that it was there. Also, the music in the background was a nice synth tune that reminds me of old 80s horror. Not the best, but it was evocative enough. Oh, and I should mention here that during this, the sheriff from the last two movies shows up to tell the rest of the gang to stop interfering with all this, or they have to deal with whatever happens next, which is super fishy. But it does show that at least a year or so has passed since the early movies, since the sheriff doesn't use the "you're too young" shtick. Okay, so Shaggy and Scooby try to tell the group about it, and Velma pops off on them about how they need to stop believing in the supernatural crap, which is as annoying as you would think it is. This is the part where everyone needs to get vehicles for the Mad Max chase scene. Daphne fangirls with Elvira and tries to be her assistant, so they're riding together. She also tries to be Elvira, which is her running gag throughout the movie. Fred meets this guy and his daughter who want to thank them for helping the town with the whole scarecrow thing, so they get roped into helping Shaggy and Scooby. Finally, since the mystery van is totaled, they get a replacement gifted from the one and only Bill Nye, who appears as a holograph. Two things. One, when I saw it had Bill Nye and Elvira in it, I groaned because I thought it would take a lot from the movie in a bad way. The celebrity crossovers always felt like a cash-in where the story is pushed aside in favor of the celebrities, but it wasn't too bad here. They were more like side characters and they didn't do too much to make them annoying. I even like the joke they had with Bill Nye over-explaining everything and going on tangents, as well as the little bond that Daphne and Elvira had. Second, the science in this movie is at magic level. Like, it might as well be magic at this point. The Mystery Van X can basically do anything and it's really ridiculous. How can Velma accept this level of technology but not believe in at least a little magic? I'll show it on the screen. You see it. It's pretty crazy. They all have their rise, and that's when the pumpkins attack, which leads to the Mad Max section of the movie. I swear to you, at least 60% of this movie takes place on this endless, empty highway where the gang is being constantly chased by the pumpkins that can drive somehow. But they're not close enough where the gang can't have full-on conversations. There were times where I really wonder if they were even being chased anymore. To be honest, kind of a lot happens on the Mad Max highway, so I'll just quickly break it down. First of all, at the end, the mystery van gets absolutely trashed. They see the sheriff who immediately gets sucked into the pumpkin conglomerate, but it's really weird because he kind of slows down into it. Oh yeah, did I mention that the pumpkins eat people and turn into them? Yeah, that happens. Velma breaks out Jonathan Crane from the SWAT van because he's relatively innocent, and this is probably my favorite scene in the movie. It has a great visual joke, and Crane is real creepy. And then, Jesus, Velma destroyed those pumpkins. Now that I think about it, it makes the reveal of the movie even more dumb than it already was, but don't worry, I'm still getting there. This all leads to Crane getting snatched by the pumpkins after styling on them, and the gang retreating to this graveyard place. Yeah, when Daphne was able to completely get all of Elvira's clothes, so that's her story arc done. And this is where Velma shows a little humility. She talks about how she has a fear of failing her friends in science, which is why she goes so hard to prove everything as scientific, and she feels bad about being a douche to just about everyone. I'm glad that they finally addressed her problem, and I hope that they tone it down in the future movies, but I guess only time will tell. She also enters her mind palace with Shaggy and Scooby, and she figures out what's going on. This is one of those things that is pretty supernatural. Velma can recall everything in her mind and walks around it to find clues that she may have missed. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I can accept it as some abstract representation of what's actually happening, especially since the clue that Shaggy finds is something that he saw when he was in the pumpkin patch. But it does feel like it's out of some detective video game, but who am I kidding? Sherlock Holmes got so high, he had a bird's eye view of the scene of the crime while he was still in his home in Hounds of Baskerville, so I guess Velma can do whatever she wants. And while this is happening, Fred is doing what he does best in a scene that feels a lot like that one Samurai Jack episode. Maybe I'm just ignorant and don't know the reference. Hopefully someone can help me out there. The traps kind of work, I mean, not really, because a lot of pumpkins got through, leaving the gang to fight them off. And finally we get to the reveal. The pumpkins are all drones and the bigger one is mechanical. The drones are made with a lithium alloy, which happens to be what Crystal Cove is rich with. That means someone was mining it, which is a bad thing because it's awful for the environment and can literally cause Crystal Cove to sink. So, you know, not good. Also, how does this even make sense? Can you really program a drone to do all the things that those drones were doing? And that's not even getting into how they drive and operate heavy machinery. And when they get smushed, why aren't there any sparks or bits of electronics lying around? I know I'm being nitpicky, but if they're going to insist on not having it be supernatural in favor of some science explanation, you better believe I'm going to make fun of it. So who's behind all of this? It was the sheriff from the last movies. It turns out his name is Cutler Toe and he runs Toe Omnitech. Before the 3 movies, the gang caught him as another monster trying to make it seem like it wasn't his company creating all that pollution. He was in jail for a while and made a plan to start mining at Crystal Cove while everyone was chased out. He spent like all of his money on drones and glow sticks for the toxic waste and wanted to scare everyone away. Obviously this doesn't work and he gets snatched away into the night by Scarecrow, and that's really about it. They head into a party of references with some extremely chill dudes and Elvira turns into a monster. The end. All in all, I really enjoyed this movie as a nice little Halloween son. A lot of the jokes landed for me, and I really liked how the gang felt like friends. The references were nice, well, the Scooby-Doo ones were the ones I mainly liked. Once again though, why couldn't the movie end on a supernatural note? You could have had that instead of the drone stuff, and it wouldn't have taken away all the lessons that Velma learned. I guess it would have been harder to work the sheriff into it. I don't know, make him a wizard or something? Plus, I did wish that the focus of the story wasn't mostly about Velma, but I know it was to help finish her arc. And with that said, I wish that the rest of the gang cared about the mystery like Velma. It was pretty intriguing at the start, and I was curious about how it would have turned out. Oh, and I really liked the Scarecrow in this. He was really cool, and I liked the way he made Velma doubt everything she did. And well, it was genuinely spooky when he snatched Toe to God knows where. Like, the way it was set up and stuff. So, what did you think of the movie? I don't care who you are, it had to have been better than the last two ones, and probably Scoob. But talking about that movie would get me struck down by the hand of God himself. Whatever you feel, let me know in the comments. Yes, you, random viewer, I want to hear from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, because that would be awesome of you. But before you go and spend millions on glow sticks, have a good day.